Yes, Steven, you can play dodgeball, but only if you come in and take off all of your clothes. This is Lost Between Analog and Digital, an unscripted podcast from an angsty millennial. I'm your host, Kay. So today I wanted to talk about some of the weird teachers I had in school. Probably going to do 2 or 3, depending on how good we are for time. I'm hoping to keep this in my target range of 15 to 20 minutes. I was going through the list of content suggestions I had made back in like January, February, and I had saw one that just said gym class Kurt Angle. And I couldn't think for the life of me what the hell I had originally meant at the time, seeing how it's not tied to any of the wrestling stuff. And then it popped into my head that in junior high we had this weird gym teacher, substitute gym teacher, that we called Kurt Angle. I can't think of his real name for the life of me, but he looked like late 2000, 2001 Kurt Angle when he was going really starting to go bald before he shaved his head in the match against Edge. Just a weird guy. He'd always be in a tank top and really short shorts, and he would stand there with his hands on his hips and like all just full of himself. And I'm feeling like a bit of an asshole saying that as I'm standing here with my hands on my hips recording this so I can project a little bit better. So the junior high I went to was grade 7, 8, and 9. And we had 2 gym teachers. I had Miss Robertson for 7 and 9 and Mr. Shubinetti for grade 8. So it would have been in grade 8 and 9 that we had this gym teacher substitute, Kurt Angle. And for whatever reason, that there was big extended periods of time where he was in substituting for both years. Something happened in grade 8 that Mr. Shubinetti took a bunch of time off, and then some stuff was going on with Miss Robertson or whatever, and she was in and out all of like grade 9. So he was substituting for like days or weeks on end or whatever. And just before I go any further, so a bit of a bonus one is Miss Robinson was one of the craziest teachers I've had. It was always rumored that she lived in the school. Her house had burned down a few years ago, and the rumor was that she was living in the gym. So I ended up finding out years later, yeah, that was largely true while we were there, that in one of the rooms off the gym, there was we ended up stumbling upon this one time when she was gone, and I don't know, for whatever reason we had run of the gym, and we end up one of the rooms we weren't allowed in. We end up kicking the door open or getting the door open somehow, and there was a bed, a stove, a fridge, and like a table and chairs. And one of my friends, he did volunteer work with one of the basketball teams, and they used the junior high gym for their practice. When they would pick up and drop off the keys and everything, it was always her, and it was always like after hours. And one time he was saying like they dropped off the keys and they were, talking in the parking lot for like an hour or whatever, him and one of his buddies about whatever. And it's like they noticed she didn't leave. She came in and then like turned the lights off in the gym, and they were there for like an hour, and her car was still there. Her daughter lived nearby the school too, so I think the rumor was when she got sick or something, she would go to her daughter's house or whatever. Yeah, so she was just always weird and crotchety and like just a shitty person anyways. There was one day we came in and Steven asked if we could play dodgeball. She's like, yes, Steven, you can play dodgeball, but only if you come in and take off all of your clothes. And she said this in front of me and Corey and probably some other people. And we're like, what? And she's like, your shoes. I said, come in and take off your shoes. I don't know if it was a Freudian slip or anything, but it was very clearly, it wasn't like if you come in and take off your clothes. Like, no, I mean, get changed, take off your shoes. It was very clearly, if you come in and take off all of your clothes. Like, there was multiple word articulation, so it was more than just But we hated her. She was just miserable. So back to substitute Kurt Angle. He was he was like probably 26 or so. He was a younger substitute, like had just kind of finished teaching, whatever, maybe late 30s or late 20s, early 30s. But for some reason, I have in my head that he was in like his mid to late 20s, but really bad hairline, really thinning. But just I think that's funny. Not that I make fun of bald people or anything. I really don't like this guy. So he would join in on our games and everything. It was like super competitive. Like if we're playing floor hockey or whatever, and there's always like a team that might end up getting stacked or whatever, because when you let people pick, everybody picks their friends or they pick the hockey players or the athletic whatever. So he would always join the team that was stacked, not the team that might need a little bit of help. Or our teams were pretty good. Usually it would be like the two like guys that would be head of the hockey teams, or like the top players would want to compete against each other, and they would pick out pretty good rounded teams. So that was always, it was always reasonably competitive. But if one team was more stacked or something, yeah, he would hop on that team so fast, and he'd be like trash talking, and like he was like a really physical, dirty player, which is so weird in the context that this is junior high students. We were like 13, 14. So one day we're playing lacrosse, and one of the guys, Derek, you know, one of the kids that's always in school, a bit of an asshole, but I always thought he was a decent guy. I never really had a problem with him. Like he might give me shit or whatever, but it was like there was never any serious beef or anything between us. So Kurt Angle is like getting physical with him and like screening him and like whatever, because he's like being reasonably good player in lacrosse. So he gets the ball and he's like just dancing it around Kurt Angle, and he's like spinning around him and all this stuff and playing keep away, just holding the stick up as high as he can, so he like can't knock it out of his basket and stuff. And it's pissing Kurt Angle off so much. He's getting physical, and he's like kind of like starting to like chest bump him and stuff. And he's like pushing Derek back towards the wall, and Derek turns around and slaps the stick against the wall, basket facing up as high as he can. So, playing keep away, Kurt Angle can't get it. So this grown ass man takes a step back and takes the lacrosse stick and slashes Derek down the back as hard as he can. And then so Derek throws the lacrosse stick at him, and he's like going to fight him. And like, I think it was like Nick and Carter and a couple, like 4 guys grab Derek and like pull him away, and they take him down to the office and whatnot. So he slashed Derek that hard through his shirt that he had cuts in the big red like scrape mark. And like we seen it. I don't know if it was like later that day or the next day, but it was like bad. Like he was bruised and stuff. Grown ass man, you know. So I remember the next day, or later that day, I think it was Mr. McLeod, our math teacher, who was also the vice president, came in the class and was like, sorry that happened to you guys, that he's not going to be substituting here anymore. We're the district's investigating and all this stuff and that. But like, what kind of a sad, weird, pathetic man, like, or pathetic life that you seek out a job where you're competitive with like 14-year-olds. Like that was like this dude's wet dream or something. Like what a creep. And that's not even to talk about how he was creepy with the teenage girls and stuff that I'm just not even going to bother get into. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure half the gym teachers in the world are creepy with underage girls anyways. So looks like I got time for one more. So in grade 10, this would have been in high school. The teacher that had the reputation for kind of being the crazy one in our high school was Mr. Kelly. He taught oceans and some other similar science classes. Now, I never had Mr. Kelly as a teacher. or anything. But I did like I had friends that had him as a teacher and stuff, and there was always rumors of like just he would do weird stuff or like ask weird questions. And I think he was the number two handgun marksman in his like age range or class or whatever in like Atlantic Canada. I had done some stuff with the communications technology class that we had some equipment donated from the college and was helping the teacher kind of make heads or tails of what we had. And Mr. Kelly wanted someone to do decals for his vinyl decals for his handgun case. So he bought some of the stuff that we needed in exchange for us making them for it. Nice guy, I never had him as a student, but he would always, say hi to me in the class or in the hallway on the way to class and stuff and that. But so yeah, I never had him as a student, but I happened to be in the classroom next to him. So we would hear like, the ruckus of, whatever prank or whatever thing he would pull and that would get like the class next door up in arms. But the best one, and I think for him this is like his favorite thing to do because he has this down to a science. So we're sitting in math 10, and he comes in and comes up to our teacher and he starts talking to our teacher and he's like says something like, are you going to be sitting there or whatever? And she like sighs or whatever and like gets up and he goes over and he opens the window and he's like looking out and stuff. So, we're like, okay, this is weird. He's the oceans teacher, and one of the things they do is they grow algae or plankton samples or something. His classroom and our classroom are right over the school entrance, which has this big concrete like roof ledge thing that covers the main entrance of the school. So I was like, okay, he has the samples or whatever out there, so that's whatever he's doing. So about 10-15 minutes pass, he's in his class, and we hear all of this screaming. And the next thing we know, there's like all the screaming next door and all this commotion and everything. The next thing we know, something explodes through our window onto the floor. And it's Mr. Kelly. He gets up, he dusts himself off, doesn't say a word to any of us, just looks at our math teacher, Miss Kerrigan, and he walks out the door and walks into his classroom, and there's more screaming. So what he does is he'll be like, I'm going to go out and get the algae samples or the samples so we can look at under the microscope. Pretends to fall out his window, screams, rolls out of sight, and then jumps through our window before the class reacts. So they think they can't find him. He's not on the roof. Like, where did he go? And then he walks in and tells everybody to take their seat. Like, this is a man that has done this clearly multiple times, that he has it down to a science, that to the point that our math teacher literally just rolls her eyes like she's not going to dispute or anything. I wish I had been in the room with them. And I found out from people, some of my friends that were in like grade 11 and 12 and that he has a habit of doing this, but everybody keeps it a secret because it is so hilarious that you go through the class and you experience it or whatever. But like he would do all kinds of just weird stuff like that. Not falling out of a window every day, and he was a spry older guy. Remember, like, he leaped through the window, and I don't know if he like rolled or whatever. Like, it wasn't a climbing through the window; it was smooth. And he gets up and he like dusts himself off and like fixes his shirt or whatever as he's walking out the door and doesn't say anything. So he traumatizes 2 classrooms for the price of 1 prank. And then you just hear him like walk into his class, and he's like, "Okay, everybody, take your seats." Like, what are you looking at the window for? Doesn't acknowledge that he just jumped out a window. Just thinking, no wonder, like, when I'm telling these stories and everybody's like, your school was insane. So yeah, that was 2, or well, I guess technically 3 crazy teachers I've had in school. I could probably do a few more episodes in the future as I remember some of them, because I've had quite a few weird ones. Again, I'm super appreciative of everybody that's listened. Really appreciative of all the feedback I've got so far. I've been meaning to set up like a formal contact email or whatever so I can get feedback directly. If you like the show, you've enjoyed this, best way you can help right now is tell a friend or listen to another episode or two. Got a few good ones. I have some episodes, if you haven't seen them, about some of the weird kids I went to school with. Uh, some just different stuff from childhood, like when we were really into backyard wrestling, or I went to high school with YouTube's biggest plagiarist, James Somerton. I probably got to update the title of that just so it's a little clearer. He was the guy in the plagiarism scandal from the H bomber guy. So I have a episode about my experience going to school with him and how crazy he was back then. So yes, once again, thank you. If you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, leave a comment if you can or review anything. I'm super appreciative of all you guys listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one.